Hundreds of people are crammed around a confined area in the initial scene. A little Thomas is brought by his mother to be transported aboard a train for protection. They never see one another again after she tells him she loves him. Thomas encounters Dr. Ava Page on the train. Following their escape from the maze, Thomas and the other Gladers, Newt, Teresa, Minho, Frypan, and Winston, are transported to the lonely city. When they arrive, a swarm of infected individuals rushes towards them, but the mercenary warriors accompanying them beat them off. They transport the Gladers to Jansen's facility. He claims that the Gladers will find refuge, food, clothing, and safety from the flare at this location. In a cafeteria, Thomas joins Minho and the other lads. They notice additional groups of individuals their age, indicating that they were not the only ones who escaped the maze. Frypan points out one boy, Eris, who has spent the most time in a maze, and in one with predominantly girls. Jansen then goes in and calls out numerous names for what appears to be a relocation. Teresa's name is called, and she joins the other as they walk out. That night, Eris drags Thomas out of bed and leads him via the vents to a room where many bodies are carried in for testing and studies. Thomas begins to suspect that they are doing something wrong with Teresa. The next day, another set of persons is summoned. Thomas engages in a brief altercation with a guard in order to grab his ID badge. He and his companions sneak out of their rooms that night to find Teresa and the others. Thomas finds them all tethered to some type of machinery, and they are all unconscious. Thomas then enters a room where he finds Jansen speaking to Ava via projection. He's been conducting studies to determine who is resistant to the flare, and he discusses looking for a group named the Right Arm and their safe haven. Thomas discovers Jansen is employed by the World in Catastrophe Kill Zone Department, WCKD. Thomas joins Newt, Minho, Frypan, Winston, and Eris and attempts to locate Teresa so that they may flee. They come across a merc who points his stun pistol at them, which Minho knocks into a wall. Thomas takes the rifle and arranges for a doctor to transport them to Teresa. They grab her and rush out the door. Jansen and 3 other mercs try to stop them, claiming that they won't stay long in the Scorch. Thomas fights them off and barely escapes with the others. The Gladers are now on the outside in a wide desert, heading toward the mountains in search of the Right Arm. They uncover an abandoned building with power, but when they switch it on, Thomas and Minho are ambushed and hunted by some cranks. When the cranks and mercs collide, the pursuit intensifies. Winston keeps them off with a rifle while they discover an escape, but one of the cranks strikes and scratches him. The others drag him out. As the sun rises, the Gladers continue to stroll across the sand mounds. Winston falls because he has been infected and the infection is fast spreading throughout his body. He only wants to be put out of his pain and not become a crank. Frypan pulls a pistol from his pocket, which Newt removes and delivers to Winston. Winston bids his buddies farewell and they go. They all hear a single gunshot while walking. While the others are sleeping for the night, Thomas notices a civilization in the distance. A tremendous lightning storm begins to form as the group continues to move. Powerful bolts strike down, striking Minho but not killing him. His comrades seize him and drag him into another building. They discover dozens of chained cranks there. Brenda emerges from the shadows, where she lives with a gang of survivors. She leads the Gladers to Jorge, her leader father figure. He examines the tattoos on the Gladers' necks and realizes they originated from a WCKD facility and are valuable. Jorge also discovers that they are seeking for the Right Arm. Soon after, a swarm of WCKD mercs commanded by Jansen rushes the area. Thomas flees with Brenda, cutting himself apart from the other Gladers. Jorge performs a song that, when finished, sets off a succession of bombs. The facility falls, killing the mercenaries. Cranks is pursuing Thomas and Brenda as they hurry toward an escape. They dash outdoors and into a collapsing building. Brenda trips and almost falls out of a window. A crank assaults her, but Thomas cracks the glass, causing the crank to tumble out while pulling Brenda up. The two continue their search for the others and discover a type of nightclub owned by another survivor, Marcus. He knows something about the right arm, but he doesn't reveal his identity to Thomas and Brenda, instead offering them a drink to get them in the mood for the celebration. Brenda approaches Thomas after he had a little seizure. They make their way in for a kiss, but Thomas only sees himself kissing Teresa. Brenda is disappointed when he informs her that she is not Teresa. Thomas awakens after having strange dreams to find Teresa and Minho seated over him. He and Brenda are back with Jorge and the Gladers, and Thomas discovers Jorge punching Marcus in the face. Marcus informs the guys where they can locate the right arm after a few hard blows. The trio borrows Marcus' automobile and travels past a mountain filled with abandoned cars. Gunshots are fired at them as they exit. Jorge throws a bomb at Thomas as a distraction, but they are trapped by two female shooters, Harriet and Sonia. They identify Eris and determine that the gang does not represent a threat to them. The girls lead the gang to the right arm's rest of the members, including their commander Vince. Brenda falls after being bitten by a crank, although her sickness does not progress as swiftly as Winston's did. Vince is about to shoot her when he is stopped by Mary Cooper, a former WCKD scientist. She explains that Thomas served as an informant for all of WCKD's actions. Brenda is given an enzyme injection to prevent the illness from spreading. Thomas has taken a seat at Brenda's bedside. She speaks about losing her mother to the flare. As he recalls the boy's sacrifice, Thomas pulls out the little totem handed to him by Chuck. Thomas speaks with Teresa that night. She claims that she saw her mother go insane as a result of the flare, and she didn't want to give up on the rest of the infected, which is why she's been working for WCKD the entire time. WCKD helicopters are spotted flying into the mountains after Teresa summoned them and informed them of their location. Thomas rushes to warn everyone, only for the choppers to launch missiles at the crowd. The mercenaries arrive and begin assaulting people. Thomas abandons Jorge and Brenda in order to save his buddies. Teresa has been with WCKD since the beginning, according to Ava and Jansen. Jansen shoots and murders Mary. Jorge arrives in a vehicle, sparking a struggle between WCKD mercs and the right arm. Jansen almost murders Thomas, but Brenda shoots him in the shoulder. Thomas employs Jorge's explosives on a gang of mercenaries. Minho is hit with a stun gun and captured by the mercs. As Thomas helplessly watches the ship take off, Ava, Teresa, and Jansen flee with Minho. The surviving appear to have given up hope in the morning. Thomas packs all he can carry and plans to return to WCKD to rescue Minho and murder Ava. Although Vince believes he's insane, Harriet says that she'd want some vengeance. Everyone is now looking to Thomas as they prepare to take down WCKD.